Welcome to Gen Z Hoops, the Gen Z basketball, coaching, and sports business show.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Gen Z Hoops podcast. Today, we're joined by assistant coach of the Windy City Bulls, Marko Andjelkovic. Coach Andjelkovic, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for the question. Thanks for having me. And it'll be my pleasure to tell my story and share some of my thoughts and experiences.
Most definitely. Well, to get into our little discussion right now, can you tell us a little bit about your connection to the game of basketball?
Um I was a kid who grew up in the 90s. And since Serbia is a basketball country, that's a country where I'm from. Uh, we were lucky at that time because basically every night we had NBA games. There was broadcasting, so I would say 80% of all of those games were the Bulls games during the 90s.
Right.
So I was waking up early in the morning, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., watching their games, and after that I would go to school. Uh, at that time, a few of my friends started practicing basketball in a local elementary school. So after watching a few of those games, I just joined them.
Oh,
So
wow.
I guess I was just one of the millions of kids who were inspired by the Bulls and Michael Jordan at that time.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, that's how my mom got into basketball, actually. She told me stories all the time. They used to fight my grandmother, like argue with her, like fighting to stay up and watch the last games that would be going on. But they had school in the morning. I
Yeah.
bet you guys like being European in a way, you guys really looked up to Toni Kukoc. I know he's from Croatia, but like how was how was his like impact across Europe? I always wonder that.
Well, it was a big impact, obviously, but not only Toni Kukoc, a lot of other players from the region of Balkan, Serbia, Croatia, Slovenia, Bosnia, a lot of players from those countries played in the NBA, and they were they were very good in
Right.
their job, and they inspired actually kids in the whole region of Balkans.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely gave like kids who lived in Europe can like in their brains they can say like, "Oh wow, we can do this too." It's not just like you don't just have to live in America to go to the NBA. We can play overseas and then end up making it as well if we keep working hard, right?
Exactly. So Tony, for example, was just as I said, one of the guys. But actually, it's interesting that you mentioned just him because I really have huge respect to Tony because if you have a guy who came in the NBA at that time and played with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen on the same team,
Right.
and I always like to say that if you have that kind of guy, for example, who takes clutch shots besides Michael Jordan and Scottie
Right.
Pippen, the team, well, you know that guy is special.
100%. Phil Jackson was drawn up. I recall in the Last Dance, he drew up a play for Tony instead of Scottie Pippen, and Scottie Pippen like said, "Oh man, just take me out the game," because he was like kind of annoyed that Tony got the last shot. But lo and
Yeah,
behold, Tony hit the fadeaway three to win the game.
yeah, big time player, really big time player.
Insane. Um, so going off to like your connection to the game, at what point in your life did you realize that you wanted to start coaching?
So I played until the age of 20.
Mhm.
It wasn't professionally. Uh, and as soon as I stopped playing, I started thinking about coaching. First thing that I did after I finished playing was I started watching practices of a few of my ex-coaches that I played for. And I would say after 6 months, I got my first opportunity. I got my first coaching job in a small club in Belgrade.
Right.
And that is the club where I spent next 7 years.
Oh wow. Okay.
So those were my, let's say, first touches with coaching. Interesting period, I can say. But from this standpoint, I was far away from coaching at that time. I realize that right now.
Okay.
But that's a process of development. Is the same thing as with the players.
Yeah, most definitely. Can you go into so you coached in Serbia for the Serbian Basketball Federation, the basketball club Partizan, and then the basketball club Mega BMAX. Could you and then this past summer, as you mentioned in our previous conversations, you coached for the Chinese women's national team. Could you describe your experiences with coaching overseas?
Yes, so I will just walk you through uh, each of those experiences. Uh, 2010, I started my coaching job with Partizan Belgrade.
Right.
I don't know how much people who listen and watch this podcast know about Partizan, but that's by far the best team and organization in that part of Europe.
Okay.
And at that time, so 2010 until 2016, Partizan was well known by development of their players. We had a lot of prospects. Some of them, many of them played all across Europe on the highest level. Some of them played in the NBA, and some of them are still playing in the NBA. So as I mentioned, so they were probably the best team in Europe for player development at that time. And 2010, they played Final Four of EuroLeague, which is the highest level of basketball in Europe. Some notable players from Partizan Belgrade. I will go back a little bit. So Nenad Krstic, who played for New Jersey Nets. Then Nikola Pekovic, who played for Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yep.
Bogdan Bogdanovic, who is still playing with Atlanta Hawks. Davis Bertans, I think he's in OKC Thunder right now, but he's been in the league for, I would say, 10 years.
Right.
French big Geoffrey Lauvergne, who played in the NBA, came back to Europe, and so on. So there was a huge experience. I learned a lot at Partizan, especially because at that time, the head coach of Partizan was a legendary coach who was well known all across the Europe for development of young players. So almost every young player in the Balkans region, and later, a little bit later, all around Europe, wanted to play for him, wanted to come and play for him, and basically develop through his program.
Right.
He was famous with his, I can say, Spartan methods of practicing. So players will spend a lot of time in the gym.
Yeah, definitely.
After Partizan, I spent 1 year at Mega.
Okay.
Mega is a completely different story. That's a small team that was, I think, established 2007 or 8. I'm not sure about that. So, and in these 15 years, that's a team and club that had 15 drafted players.
Okay.
And I think that only Kentucky is in front of them in terms of number of drafted players.
Right.
All around the globe. I spent a year over there. That's a different team, different organization, but also it's the same goal: development of young players, so they can, let's say, accomplish playing in the NBA at some point of their careers, or playing EuroLeague the highest competition
Right.
in Europe. At that time, so Nikola Jokic, for example, came from Mega. Zubac from LA Clippers came from Mega. Bobby Marjanovic, the big, who is
Yeah.
with Houston Rockets, he came from Mega.
Wow.
A lot of big. So Nikola Jovic, who is with Miami Heat,
Oh, I'm a huge fan of his.
he was also in Mega. So a lot of players, yeah, who are still in the NBA played in Mega. Uh, at that time, I worked individually, and I was directly responsible for Goga Bitadze,
Yep.
who is in Orlando Magic.
Orlando.
Yeah, he's still in Orlando Magic. That was also great experience. The team is owned by the most powerful agent in Europe. So basically, he is on a resource of many prospects all around Europe. So he's just bringing the best of the best to his team.
Right.
He's developing them through his program, and so that's how 15 drafted players, NBA drafted players. After Mega, I moved to the States, and then after 1 year without a job in the States, I came back to Slovenia for a season with Olimpia Ljubljana, which is, if Partizan Belgrade is, let's say, by far the best team in their region, Olimpia is probably top three.
Okay.
Goran Dragic played there, for example, among the other Slovenian players that also played in the NBA. Again, same story. Somehow every team that I worked with was the main goal was development of young players. So I was responsible for development of Marko Simonovic, for example, at that time, who was 19 at that time. Later, he was drafted by the Bulls. I think that was 2021. And then we had Luka Šamanić, Croatian guy, who is now with Utah Jazz.
Right.
I was drafted by San Antonio Spurs 2019 as a 19th pick.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we had those two prospects, and it was a great experience that season with Olympia and developing those two guys. I also worked with the Serbian National Federation, but that was before. Actually, that was in the moment when I took over. When I moved to Partizan, I started working during the summertime with Serbian National Federation, and that was teams under 16 team of Serbian National Federation, and that was also great experience because Serbia is well known for developing of young players and the methods that we use and wide basis that basically we do for every player at that age regarding his guard or a big, because like you cannot say for a 15-year-old kid or 16-year-old kid, is he gonna be a 5-man or is he gonna be 4-man? Maybe you can say he's gonna be big, but you cannot say he's gonna be 4 or 5 strictly. Right. So that's why we were like trying to build a wide base for all of the guys over there. So that's the reason I can say that Serbian players, and not only Serbian players, but the players from all the regional Balkans are skilled.
Right. So you train them as guards, not just bigs from like the young age.
Exactly.
That's why they're able to shoot, handle the ball, go into a post up by themselves. And then when they have the mismatch or if they're guarded by the same guy in their position, they're able to take the matchup and go to the rim at the same time. That's great.
They are very skilled. They were very skilled. Like you have players age of 16, 17, they know everything about basketball.
Right.
In some way, there is a great thing. There are some bad things about that, but that's completely different topic. I can say that we were doing a great job at that time with Serbian National Federation. You mentioned, I had one more international experience that was this past summer with the Chinese women's national team.
Yep.
Officially, that's the second best team in the world.
Really?
Yeah, they played the final game. They lost the final game of the World Cup in 2022. They lost the game against USA national team. Yep. So that experience was completely different than all my experiences before that. But I can say it was a very positive experience, very positive. Head coach is open-minded. We had international staff, mix of international and local staff. So it was great thing just to go there, see a different mentality, see completely different cultures, see some completely new methods of practices. I'm not saying new, but like, let's say different.
Yep.
I've never faced those kind of methods before, but in general, very positive experience. Yeah.
What was it like from working with all these teams of men's teams for a long time and then making the transition this past summer and working with women? Like what were like the biggest challenges you would say, or like what were your favorite parts as well, aside from the challenges?
Yeah. So I was thinking about that before. When I got an offer, I was thinking about that. What will be the differences? And then when I accepted them before I went over there, I was also thinking, like, what can I expect over there in terms of women's comparing to men? But actually, when I went over there, there is not a big difference.
Really?
There is not a big difference. Of course, like you cannot throw a lob pass for a dunk in women's basketball, maybe WNBA, some players, but not over there. Obviously, the biggest difference is
physicality, you would say.
Physicality, of course. That's the biggest difference. The biggest challenge for me over there was, I would say, and that's in tight correlation with their, I would say, mentality and ideology, which is they're not creative as a population, as Chinese people. They're not creative. So basically, they want patterns for everything.
Right. It's very simple, like simple basketball they want. Like if they were on a motion set, just stick to the motion set, like not like robotic in a way, right?
Not even that.
Oh, really?
They go much more into details. For example, if I ask a player to cut at some point, they want a pattern. So they want a pattern and they want a situation to cut every time. But it cannot be like that, right? Because the game of basketball is a live game. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know how defense
will more read and react.
Exactly. So we don't know how not every defense rotates the same way, right? Not every defense helps the same way.
Exactly.
So it cannot be the same pattern, but they want a pattern because they're not the best in reading the game. And that was a big challenge for me in the beginning. But then, as in everything, you got used to everything. Yeah. So I got used to that, and I tried to help them as much as I could. And at the end, I saw great results.
Right.
I saw that they picked up a lot of things that we did. And after that training camp, China women's national team, they won Asian Games. We were preparing for that, and they won it. That's let's say Olympic Games for Asia.
Hmm.
Yeah. So very positive experience.
Yeah, that sounds like a great experience. Um, going into your time with the NBA now, like I saw that you coached free agent mini camps for NBA teams like the Clippers and the Jazz. Like going from all these international experiences that you've coached and done a spectacular job with, how were you able to get this opportunity back in the NBA?
Uh, I would say the best thing that could have happened to me and my career was going back to Slovenia for that season. As I mentioned, we had two NBA prospects on our team, Marko Simonovic and Luka
Yes.
Šamanić. So we had a lot of NBA scouts, NBA executives, almost on every practice and every game. Uh, so that's how I made a lot of contacts. And basically, that's how everything started. Talking about mini camps, uh, I got an opportunity to work on free agent mini camps with LA Clippers and Utah Jazz, and that was based on let's say informations that I gave to those teams, for example,
Hmm.
about those two players that I mentioned.
Right.
They needed information, so I was giving them information that they needed, which is completely allowed. Uh, and then just after that, they offered me to work on their camps, but it wasn't only camps. And the same year, that was 2019, I got an opportunity with New Orleans Pelicans to be a guest coach on their training camp before the summer league and the summer league.
Was that when you worked at Jackson Hayes?
Yes. For
Oh,
example,
nice.
Zion Williamson was there too. That was the year when Zion, Jackson Hayes, and Nickeil Alexander Walker were
Right.
drafted by the Pelicans, and all three of them were with us on the summer league.
Oh, wow. So did you travel to Summer League with the team as well?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was on the bench.
Oh, wow. So you were there when Zion ripped the ball from Kevin Knox, jumped up and threw it on his head?
Yep, I was there.
That was crazy,
Oh,
man.
yeah. Unfortunately, he played only first game on the summer league, and then the team shut him down for the rest of the
Right.
summer. Yeah, he had a minor knee injury at that
Yeah.
time, so they didn't want to risk anything for
And
the
then
rest.
and then it took him like he didn't start the season with the team. I think I recall from that year. And then later on in the year he debuted against San Antonio, I think, when he came back.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah, and that I remember watching that game. And then he couldn't miss from three that one game. I think he hit like six threes that game or something like that. It was-
Might
that's
might be, might be.
yeah, that's amazing though. So on top of working with all like these players for the New Orleans Pelicans, like going more into detail, you worked as a skills and player development coach for the NBA. So you also work with Nikola Vucevic, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Cameron Payne, Ben McLemore. Can you talk a little bit about how you would set up their workouts to enhance their skills, like in more particular, like maybe like the off season or during the season? Like, what was your philosophy when working with all these players as well?
Uh, well, obviously, I had I'm a very lucky guy, and because I had an opportunity to work with those kind of guys, and I still have opportunity to work with very talented players,
Right,
uh, and to develop myself, right, as a coach. Uh, so I would say every player is a different person.
right.
Every player needs different approach. So it cannot be the same approach for 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 example those guys that you mentioned, even if they have similar or the same needs,
Yep,
similar or the same problems, right?
yep,
So uh, talking about my philosophy, I would say uh, that the most important thing I already mentioned is individual approach. Second thing, you got to have a goal.
right.
in every workout. I've seen many trainers and coaches, they're just trying to make players tired, make players sweat,
Right.
Do like 10 different things on workout and job done. I have completely different philosophy. There's got to be a goal. And to me, it's a single goal. It's a single goal. If we have a goal, for example, shooting, whatever it is it a correction or something different? It gotta be, that's the main goal, and that's the main target. It cannot be 5 different things, right?
Yep.
So if I can add on that, for example, during the warm up, some ball handling or some finishing or
Right.
whatever we're doing, I will do it. It depends on my creativity.
Right.
But the goal is the most important thing besides individual approach. Third thing that I'm trying to do, and that's the thing that I'm trying to challenge the players that I work with in terms of activation
Right.
activation of their brains early in the workout. What does it mean? I will just give you a simple example. There is he dribbles the ball. We start just a simple drill to start the workout. He dribbles in front of me. I show him a hand, right or left, and he goes that direction. That's the first step. We can do it with 2 different numbers, right? Saying 1 or 2. 1 is going right, 2 is going left, right? So I'm trying to activate their brain a little bit early in a workout. Then we can add on that, for example, I say 2 numbers. I say like 1 is going right, 2 is going left. And the second number is finish. And I say, let's say for the second number, 1 is just layup, 2 is reverse layup, 3 is, let's say, Euro step.
Right. Okay.
Right. So I say like 1, 2, which means going right, reverse layup.
Yeah.
So in that way, I'm trying to, and so on in every drill. It also a thing that where you can be a creative, and that's very important for I would say for all the coaching, but I would say especially for player development. And the fourth thing, so 1 is individual approach, 2 is setting a goal,
Right.
3 is activation of their brain early in a workout, and 4 is let's compete.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's compete in everything we do, right? He doesn't need a player besides him to compete. He can compete against himself, right? We set a goal somewhere for something. I don't know if it's a shooting drill. We say the goal is 10 corner shot, for example. You cannot miss 2 in a row, or we go let's say 5 in a row, and you gotta validate with a free throw. If you miss a free throw, you go back, and that way, right? I'm challenging them to compete, and that's emotional stress, right?
Yeah, because if you move up a spot and you miss a certain amount, then it's like, oh man, I got to do the next spot, the previous spot all over again.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I also think that certain dose of pressure is very important in a workout.
Because then it'll help you like in the game. It translates all over. Because like, can I knock down this late game free throw when the team needs me to when I'm at the line and I'm like, let's say we're down 1 and I need to force overtime or something like that. Like, do I have
Uh,
the resilience to go knock this down? Right.
I would say it helps, but it cannot help if player, for example, doesn't have that kind of experience before
Okay.
that certain shot.
Right.
So it definitely helps, but once player goes through those kind of situations late in the game and maybe miss some shots and make some shots, like in the next situation, it's going to be a little bit easier for him. So I would say
Okay.
it's the whole package.
Okay. That makes sense. Going back to your point about setting goals, last offseason, me and my trainer, Evan Sarakis from he has like a training business out here in New York. It's called NYC Hoop School. Over the offseason to get me ready to play college basketball, the whole offseason was focused around motion shooting, like shooting off curls, shooting off the corner drift, shooting off the flares. You know what I mean? And that's basically like what we focused on the whole offseason. I could say it like worked. It did pay off because like that's what we were doing every time we were in the gym. And now I'm more focusing on like playing more like a guard because that's what my college coach like really wants me to focus on instead of like because in college basketball you really can't have like a 6'5" like power forward or something like that. You got to be playing more like a shooting guard, if anything. Like a 6'5" is like a shooting guard. So that's really what I'm trying to focus on, like getting low to the ground with my moves, like shiftiness, as well as getting to the rim. So I totally understand with what your philosophy is as long as it goes with setting these goals. So
Well, I'm very big on quote that the way you practice is going to be the way you will play the game.
yeah,
It
100%.
cannot be it cannot be different. Uh, and I can talk a lot more about my philosophy. So for example, is it a workout in the season? Is it a workout of in the off season? If it's in the season, is it a workout day before the game, or we have the whole week, for example, in front of us before the next game?
Right.
Uh, some specific needs, but definitely you gotta know the player. You gotta know his strengths and weaknesses. Uh, you gotta know his personality. You gotta know him personally.
Right.
So you can build a right trust with him. It's not easy to build a relationship with a player so he trusts you unconditionally. I would say
Yes.
not easy, but that's basically the most important thing. Once you have that, everything else is easier.
Then you just keep going layer by layer, just keep building, 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 right?
Yep.
So going into you're currently the assistant coach of the Windy City Bulls, which whoever doesn't know is the G League team for the Chicago Bulls. What was the transition like from being the player development coordinator of the team to now being the assistant coach?
As you mentioned, so this is my second year with Windy City.
Yep.
I would say the difference is not big.
Okay.
It's more like formally.
Right.
I was last year was my first year like full-time job in the States. So I needed some time to adjust on everything. Uh, but basically, I had the same the same job that I still have. I would say maybe that this year I have just a little bit more responsibility and just a little bit more duties in terms
Okay.
of more scouting reports,
Right.
preparing the games for our opponents. Uh, Last year I didn't have team drills.
Mhm.
This year I have,
Okay.
but basically it is the same. It is the same job. We have uh, we have four assistants on our staff, and we we split the job, if I
Okay.
can say it. Yeah, we split the job. We split scouting reports. Each one of us have a group of players that is responsible for. Uh, we we are lucky to have an opportunity for any kind of suggestions, new ideas, because our head coach Henry Domersant is completely open-minded for any new idea, suggestion during our meetings, during the practice, during the games, in timeouts. So that's a really great thing. That's a really great thing.
Yeah, most definitely.
I would say there are some differences between my year one and year two, but not a big difference.
It's just that you have that title now, right?
Yeah,
And
and maybe as I said, just a little bit
more
more
scouting.
responsibilities. Yeah.
Yep, following. So you guys currently have an NBA veteran on your team in Derrick Favors. What type of presence does a guy like Derrick bring to the locker room? Like how has his veteran leadership helped this team this season?
Uh, First of all, let's put on the side his NBA career as a player. Derek is a great person,
Right,
and he is a real mentor to our young guys, especially guys who play on his position. Uh, he's not a, I would say he's not a loud leader. I would say he's a silent leader. Uh, you cannot hear him in a locker room that much as some other leaders,
right,
but you can see him a lot of times sitting with our young players, talking with them, giving them advices, suggestions, talking with them, uh, and I would say that in a moments when we need as a team when we need somebody to calm us down a little bit, well, he's that guy. So I think it's really too much to say how important his presence uh, in our locker room is, and how important he is for our young guys on a team.
yeah, definitely.
And I'm sorry, Ashton,
Oh
and
no, you're good.
the way he plays, his professionalism, uh, the way he plays the G League, and he has how many 10, 12 years behind him,
Yep,
and 12 years of NBA. And he's now in the G League, like 100% professional. Uh, he is 100% committed,
right.
uh, giving everything that he can in every moment on the court. So, I mean, who is smart, he will see that and he will follow his example.
Yeah, 100%. What I was about to say, my assistant coach at my previous high school, Salisbury School, Bryce Daly, he'd always tell me like after our games or practice, like, because I'm not really like one of those guys who's gonna be like all like hoorah in the locker room, you know what I mean? Like, guys, let's do this. I'm like one of those like a silent leader, like as you were saying, Derek Favors is like lead by example, work hard, and everyone else will follow. He would always give me like these talks, like, Ash, I know you're not the like the most vocal guy, but just keep going hard in the drills and the games, keep giving it your 100% effort and everyone will follow. And kudos to him because like that's really like driven me forward in like the process of me like growing as a player and more as a person because in anything I do, I just give 100% effort and just keep working on anything I do. So that's just to like connect to what you were telling me about Derek Favors. It's like it's just a great role model to everyone around him. Um,
Exactly. That's the right word, role
yeah.
model. Yeah, amazing person.
So I know you've had a great journey so far from coaching internationally to now being the assistant of the Windy City Bulls. However, do you have any more aspirations for your career? Like when you look 10 years into the future, what do you hope to accomplish?
Uh,
I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. Sorry about that.
no, that's fine. I say dream big. Dream big. So I see myself in 10 years as assistant coach in the NBA staff.
Okay. Doesn't matter which team, like you just put it out there.
Simply like that. Look, if it can be with Chicago Bulls, that's perfect.
There we go. Are you
Chicago is my city, so if he can be with the Bulls, I choose that.
and the Bulls are the team that like helped you fall in love with the game all those years ago with Michael Jordan and that Bulls dynasty.
Exactly. That's a very interesting. That's why I said dream big,
Yeah.
because I was dreaming at that time.
Come full circle, you know what I mean?
When I was 15, 17, 18, I was dreaming about the Bulls.
Wow. It's insane.
Yeah.
Do you ever look up at the, like those championship banners in the United Center and ever think like it's surreal that I'm here right now?
Look, I don't need to go to United Center. I go almost every day to our practice
Oh yeah, the
facility.
practice facility. That's my
Yeah.
bad.
In the off season, especially when we finish our season with Windy City Bulls, I'm very often in the practice facility, so we have all those banners in the practice facility.
Oh man. And like all the stories, I bet you definitely watched The Last Dance, like all the stories that you've heard, like Dennis Rodman coming back from like Vegas and then on that same court, like leading the Indian run and they all had to like catch up to him. Michael Jordan, Steve Kerr going at it. And then all those stories resulted in all those championships.
Yeah,
Insane.
it was very interesting to watch The Last Dance because uh, that retrospective, I watched those games live, like
Yeah.
25 years ago, and it was very interesting to see some of the stories now, like after 25 years
Yeah.
after that happened, actually
Like on like
25, 30. Yeah.
like no way that was going on at the time like this game was happening. Because like media is so different now. Like anything, let's say LeBron James, for instance, anything LeBron James does, it's right on the spot, like on Bleacher Report, ESPN. Back then, like they didn't really have anything like that. Like it's only if like the press like wanted to release something, then it would come out about Michael Jordan or anything like that.
uh, Honestly, I like that time more than I like this time.
Probably more like private, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not like so no one's glued to like their phones as they are now.
Yeah, yeah.
I had a teacher in high school as well. His name's Bobby Nichols. He would Mr. Nichols would always like check our screen time. It was like he had a rule like no phones, no computers in his room. He just wants us to like be in the moment, be present, like just experience our lives. But I mean like it's kind of ironic because we're on a Zoom call right now.
Yep.
But that just always comes to mind whenever I hear people saying like I like the olden days way more than now. So
Yep.
Coach Andjelkovic, thank you so much for your time, sir. Good luck with the rest of your season, and I hope you have a happy holidays to you and your family.
Thank you very much. It was, as I said, it was a really pleasure to have this opportunity, sharing my story, my experiences, um, and I know that not so many people in the States are familiar with the themes where I started my career,
Right.
where I worked, but I'm sure that they know some of the names that I mentioned. So thanks for this opportunity, and yeah, happy holidays.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Gen Z Hoops. Make sure to follow, like, and subscribe on Instagram, LinkedIn, and all major social media platforms at Gen Z Hoops. You can tune in and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and every other podcast platform on the planet. Get ready for the next episode.